is lying on the street, some punks chopped off his head. I'm the only one who stops to see if he's there. Turns out he's dead, and that's why I'm singing. Why?
Hi guys. Doing a documentary on the state of the world. Do you guys care to comment?
It takes too long.
Okay.
What is wrong with the world today?
Under attack. Israel's Air Force unleashes devastation on the Gaza Strip.
All the money that we're making, it's going to the man.
What man? Which man? Who's the man? When's a man a man? What makes
Doing a
man
documentary. State of the world. Like, yeah.
No, not right now.
While we're on the money topic, do you guys know how fractional reserve banking works?
No.
Did you hear about the Fed?
No, what about the Fed?
They announced another round of the quantitative easing.
What does that mean?
It means they are going to make large asset purchases via PAMO.
What does that mean?
It means they are going to expand their balance sheet and buy treasuries.
What does that mean?
It means they are going to print a ton of money.
So why do they call it the quantitative easing? Why don't they just call it the printing money?
Because the printing money is the last refuge of failed economic empires.
You must be shitting me.
No, this is their only idea.
No, I'm pregnant. Sorry.
No. The state of the world?
I'll be there for a long time.
I'm doing a documentary on the state of the world. Care to comment?
State of the world. Oh God.
Yeah, I know it's heavy, it's big, but it's happening. No? Okay. Doing a documentary on the state of the world today. Do you guys care to comment?
This is where we build it up now. We build it up now. We build it up. And then we stop.
The rat of the week. Internal documents show that after this company positively, absolutely knew that they had a medication that was infected with the AIDS virus, they took the product off the market in the U.S. and then they dumped it in France, Europe, Asia, and Latin America.
Hi. Doing a documentary on the state of the world today. Would you care to comment? Care to comment on the state of the world today?
State of the world.
State of the world today. Would you guys care to comment?
On the what? State of the what?
State of the world today. Would you care to comment? I'm doing a documentary on the state of the world today. How do you care to comment?
On what?
The state of the world.
Do you want to comment on the state of the world? No, you can.
It's going downhill.
Yeah, you got that right. All right.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's okay.
No.
I don't know.
Sore throat.
Okay. Care to comment at all?
No. That's too hard.
Thanks.
State of the world.
State of the world.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it's loaded.
The state of the world.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I have no comment. On the
The state of the world, the socioeconomic conditions that we live in.
No, I'm in a hurry. Sorry.
Okay. The state of the world.
Not me.
I'm ESL. I prefer not to.
Is that a loaded question?
That question.
It
State of the world's
One
bad.
word.
Yeah.
Disaster.
I agree.
Yeah, so that is heavy.
Pardon me?
It's a heavy question.
It is a heavy question.
Comment on what?
The state of the world.
State of the world?
Yeah.
We're Americans, it's really shitty.
It's pretty messed up right now, wouldn't you say? How about you? Would you like to comment on the state of the world today at all?
In what sense?
We have a lot of difference of living conditions for a lot of people in this world. I'm going to throw out a number, 3/4 or more, that are living in far worse conditions than we are. I see a lot of problems in the world today. Can we all agree that
Yes.
a lot of bad things are going on? Palestine and Gaza. There's a whole lot of poverty in this world. Why is that money being pushed to the bank when you got 3/4 of the population that are living in shanties? Does that make any sense to you?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense to me either. We living here in the Western world, we're very fortunate, I would say, but there's a huge segment of the population that isn't living as fortunate. And I'm wondering why the human condition, why we all allow it to continue. What is the human condition that allows that to maintain? I'm wondering why we as human beings allow this to continue. What your opinion would be.
So why human beings allow us to have such a divide in how people exist?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, government, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do with it.
I think we're very selfish.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Ignorance. It's definitely.
I mean, there's greed, there's fear.
Greed.
Education, that's a problem too.
Yeah, it's definitely ignorance.
It's like it's ignorance, I guess.
Nobody's making the connection that we're all equal.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. I guess we're just comfortable in how we're living, so we don't quite think about everyone else, which we should, obviously.
People love to complain, but nobody does a lot for it.
It's like they don't want to stand up. It's like, oh, I might lose something, or I might.
Yeah. Don't want to take the risk for.
Yeah. Oh, I like how I'm living right now, so I don't really want to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm kind of in a rush, thanks, so.
No worries.
Kind of late for a hockey game.
Okay. Fair enough. Hey guys, doing a documentary on the state of the world today. Care to comment? Doing a documentary on the state of the world today. Care to comment?
Not interested.
No. What would you characterize as one of the fundamental reasons why humanity as a whole doesn't take a step in that direction?
We need to don't think in ourselves. It's like, okay,
Don't be selfish.
don't be selfish is the first thing. Because I think the biggest problem is we are thinking just in ourselves, and you are not thinking in the other people or the future people, the people who's coming after us.
I think people just don't care about their lives anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious. I
Yeah.
don't think people care about
Well, what goes on?
what goes on, what really, like, what matters in their decisions. I just don't think people same love for life as before.
Pardon me?
Same love for life. Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that it can never be them, so there's a separation from it.
Right.
I don't know, man. I got no comment.
Okay. Cheers.
I don't know. Everyone's like oblivious, like, because people like when you're separated, but like when people are separated from people like who aren't as fortunate, like you hear about it and you know they're there, and like I guess people do something to like try to help them. I guess like fundraising and stuff, but in the end you're still separated and you don't really know what it's like. I guess so.
Lots of things going on, like the war in Afghanistan. Do we even know why that's still going on, right?
Yeah.
Why are we sending our troops over to fight in Afghanistan at this moment?
I think we're there to bring security to the region.
What did you guys take on, say, 9/11?
Oh wow, that was, I don't know, I was still pretty young for that.
You know much about 9/11?
It's only what they've told us.
What they told us, yeah.
You think of it like a movie.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't think it's like actually happening.
What's your thoughts on 9/11?
9/11?
9/11 is what pushed us into Afghanistan.
Of course.
I was all for it, you know. Let's go to war, right? We're still in Afghanistan today because of that event.
I didn't quite think too much of it because I just kind of saw it on TV and it was like, you know, you just kind of think of it when you're younger, you think of it like a movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Terrible tragedy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What did they teach you in school?
They're just like, oh, terrorists, blah, blah, blah. They're bad. It's like, how do you know? How do you actually know?
There's a lot of information out there to say that that tragedy was perpetrated by our government, well, U.S. primarily and others, but not necessarily as it went down or how the media...
Conspiracy theories are, they're always fun to talk about. Call it a conspiracy theory if you want, but it's only a theory until you look at the facts.
Have you done any research on the topic? Done any research on it or investigated it?
I've done a little bit.
Only a little bit, just for the fun of it.
Just for the fun of it?
We studied it a little bit at school. It just seemed like they were trying to brainwash us almost. They didn't let us know the whole picture. They're like focusing so much on the bad people, they didn't see what caused them to do.
Caused the bad people
to do that.
Yeah.
Like, what did America do to piss them off?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with what's fed to me by, you know, our government or the U.S. government, but until somebody shows me something really convincing otherwise, then they remain conspiracy theories. So.
Have you seen a movie called Loose Change?
No.
Freedom to Fascism?
No.
Any movies like that that maybe delve into the conspiracy theory, like to open the window of knowing whether it's a theory or fact. You know what I mean?
I watched something on think a passionate eye on CBC once, but that was a while ago.
Right. There's not one picture anywhere that showed a plane going into the Pentagon.
It just like looked like a giant hole with no. I looked at that. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the plane just disappeared almost.
Exactly. Yeah. A tower that was on fire for over 24 hours, and it never collapsed. Yet you got a building in downtown New York that's on fire for 20 minutes, and then it collapsed at free fall speed. That to me doesn't make a lot of sense. So that for me is the scary part, right? Because media, government, people with dough, all perpetrated onto us that this was done by terrorists, right? And here, let's go to war. I was right with them. I was there, yeah. Let's go to war, man. Let's get these fuckers. Well, Iraq, that's the thing, eh? We went to Afghanistan first.
Yeah, which makes
U.S.
sense.
led. We followed. We're chasing Bin Laden, right?
Yeah.
But then, like a couple years later, we went into Iraq for no reason. Weapons of mass destruction, right?
But we didn't follow, which is good.
Well,
Jean-Chrétien, we didn't follow. For
technically, I suppose you could say we didn't, but we're part of NATO. We're part of all the forces. We're all doing it together. We're supporting it. It's our tax dollars that are paying for it.
The world judged the Iraqi regime was a dangerous aggressor. In the interest of world peace and regional security, the community of nations required Iraq to surrender its offensive arsenal, its chemical and biological weapons, and abandon its nuclear weapons program.
The world judged the Iraqi regime to be a dangerous aggressor. In the interest of world peace and regional security, the community of nations expelled Iraq from Kuwait, required Iraq to surrender its offensive arsenal, its chemical biological weapons, and to abandon its nuclear weapons program. Iraq continued defiance of the community of nations presents a challenge which must be addressed.
Presents a challenge which must be addressed. It is inherently dangerous
to allow a country such as Iraq
to retain weapons of mass destruction. In the final analysis, Mr. Speaker, the absolute conviction of the government is that disarming Iraq is necessary for the long-term security of the world and is therefore manifestly in the national interest of Australia.
In the final analysis, disarming Iraq is necessary for the long-term security of the world, to the collective interests of our historic allies, and therefore manifestly, Mr. Speaker, it is in the national interest of this country.
What do you think we can do to help correct that?
Get rid of everybody that's in charge.
That's a good start.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Why do we let it continue? And is it
Again,
lack
we're
of
just
knowledge?
Self-absorbed with our own, keeping our own lives going, that we're not too worried about with
like
all the government officials are doing.
What do you guys think we can do to make a positive change?
Probably like groups or stuff or something where you could like educate everyone on the fact about this. Something like that would be good.
Now, do we need to educate other people or
Everyone.
ourselves?
Ourselves.
It took 9/11 or investigating 9/11, I should say, to shake me out of it. And then,
Yeah.
of course, you see this whole other paradigm, all these other travesties that go along with that, and then put them into today's context that they're still going on. How about Palestine and Gaza?
I was just in Israel.
Pardon me?
I was just in Israel like a month and a half ago.
My understanding is it's a 24-foot wall, barbed wire, military in and out points.
are calling on Israel to halt the use of white phosphorus.
These people must be brought to justice because they are just killing children and they are just killing women. They are innocent, they've done nothing. People should stop this crime immediately in Gaza.
And we have to be unified to be finally free from this oppression and occupation and injustice that has continued longer than any people can tolerate.
The territories are probably as challenging as they seem, I would say.
Would you care to comment?
Well, I'm just guest here today.
You, pardon me?
I'm just arriving here today.
Are you?
I don't live here.
From where?
Iran. Tehran, Iran.
Oh, really? Iran is a very hot topic these days as far as U.S. and Israel communications and things like that. You being from Iran, what's your perspective on what's going on there? Is that a loaded question?
The question. Well, actually, I believe if we live in a global world, we have to live together. We have to have mutual respect, mutual interaction with independency, and to learn respecting others, to learn respecting others' points of view. Like we live in Iran, and we believe in morality, in logic. We believe in logical talk. Nobody has the power to rule over others' judgments. Unfortunately now, some countries that are so-called superpowers, they are trying to do everything what they want. They are trying to sell their weapons to the poor countries, to the rich countries. But those people, some of them rich, but they are not independent. They want to be all the time being supported by superpowers.
The United States says it sought Israeli approval before agreeing to a multi-billion-dollar arms sale to Saudi Arabia.
The bottom line here is this is setting the stage for a coming war with Iran. It had been reported the Saudis were going to allow Israel to attack Iran using their airspace. So obviously there are going to be ramifications from that, and this arms package is setting the stage for the Saudis to quote-unquote defend themselves. Now, you look at what happens in Palestine and Gaza.
Boundaries, territorial disputes, talking about boundaries, when we deal in absolutes, when people lose their faces, are preoccupied with places, and whether or not the races that flow through your veins are apropos. This land is my land, this land is your land, but it was their land first. Whose world is it anyway?
At this point, the present we are working, we are living, we need to live together with mutual respect and to keep our real independence and freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi there. Hey guys.
Hi, I saw you.
You want to comment now?
That's okay.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm still thinking.
Okay. Do you care to comment? Okay. You're doing a documentary on the state of the world today. You guys care to comment?
No, I gotta bring this to my car. Sorry.
Cheers. Care to comment?
I can't.
Okay. How about you guys?
No, thanks.
No. Okay. Would you guys care to comment? No. Just care to comment?
No, not for me, though.
No. Hey guys, care to comment on the state of the world today? No. You guys care to comment at all?
No, I'm brain dead, sorry.
No. The state of the world?
No, I'll be there for a long time.
Yeah. What do you see that's going on that's wrong?
That's wrong.
That should be changed. What do you see that's wrong? Pick a problem. Any problems that you see that kind of irk you?
I think the fact that when we skateboard anywhere and we get tickets for skating without a helmet, I feel like that's wrong. I don't know. It's our choice. We've assumed the consequences for what we're doing.
Yeah. Do you know that there's over 60 million laws that govern people?
Yeah.
Do you think you're free?
Not really.
Marijuana should be legalized.
Exactly.
Right?
Do you believe
It
that,
can
Max?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can fix what? It can power cars. It can build, what is that, ropes and stuff?
Yeah,
and
hemp rope.
textiles and all that stuff. It can just basically save whatever's.
You guys ever wonder why we have alcohol and tobacco, which is legal. These are our choices.
Yeah.
That's legal, but pot isn't.
I think a problem that probably bothers me a lot would be how people treat animals. I think we're both fairly big animal activists, but maybe not as much as we should be. The other week I was asked by UNICEF to sponsor like $10 a day, or not a day, sorry, $10 a month. And I wasn't going to at first, but then I was looking around the stuff I owned and it was like, I didn't need to buy half of this crap, and it cost me way more than $10. So I think if people try to think of it in those terms on a daily basis, perhaps.
And it really gets you thinking, like, what have I purchased, and like, you know, all the stuff that I've owned and just kind of thrown away. It's just kind of like, it's disgusting.
And I think we need to share more of the wealth, possibly. Most definitely.
I think that, to me, is the biggest thing. When you see our national debt, which a lot of it is interest that we're being charged for the privilege of having the money printed, and that's income tax. We all have to pay 30% of income tax to the man, but none of those dollars go to pay for any services. They don't go to roads, they don't go to hospitals, they don't go to social services. It's interest on the money that the Bank of Canada prints for us to use as bills of exchange. It's a piece of paper so we can exchange labor, right? So I don't know what you do for a profession, but say you're a hairdresser and I'm a carpenter. I could build you a house, you can cut my hair, but there's going to be a difference of exchange there, right? So money was created to even that out. So, but the money is just a form of recognition that everybody understands, right? The banks got in there and said, we'll print that money and charge you interest. Now, but they're coming into our contract and making shitloads of interest on that. Does that seem right?
If you're the bank.
Does that make
no
any
different
sense?
than the United States? They're doing exactly the same
Well, it's
thing.
worldwide.
The central bank is totally in control down there, and it's not even it's a private entity.
But
it's not right. No, it's not.
Big time wrong.
It's only certain people that are in the know that get to have to get ahead in life. The rest of us are kept under the thumb so we can be controlled.
Do you guys know how fractional reserve banking works?
No.
On the topic of lending, are you familiar with fractional reserve lending? Sorry? Fractional reserve lending? That's how the banks operate. Have you heard of that?
No.
Fractional reserve banking. That bank there only has to hold 10% of the deposits, and they can lend out 90% more. I always thought as if I put $100 in the bank, you can go in and borrow that $100, but you can't borrow 101.
No.
Right? Because they don't have 101. They've only got 100. Right. But under the system, the way it's set up, I borrow $100 from Royal Bank and I deposit it into TD. You walk into TD, you can now borrow $900 based on the 100 I put in. Okay, and they can charge you interest on that. So now you take your $900, walk across the street, deposit into CIBC, deposit that $900, they can now lend out, math is wrong, but $9,000. You go in, borrow $9,000, deposit into there, they can lend out $90,000.
How does that
and charge interest on that money. That $90,000 never existed if it wasn't for my $100, which I just borrowed from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't compute.
No.
It's a bit of a pyramid scheme.
Huge pyramid scheme. Have you ever signed your tax return and it says, with full understanding
Oh, yeah, and you're
Have you ever
worried
seen the
about
revenue code?
No.
It's thicker than this camera.
No, but sometimes you think that that's what you're doing.
Well, that's what I said. You think,
sign it,
but
but
you
don't know.
You don't
You
read
don't
it,
know.
or
The
you
small
read it
print
needs to be large print, and you can't
Yeah.
understand it anyways.
Well, let's
Well,
start
that's the
by
other
getting
thing is-
rid of everybody in charge. Everybody.
I think government should start at the community level. Like, I agree with user pay taxes. Like, we need roads, we need bridges, we need things to
education, we
help
need all that
society
stuff. Yeah.
roll. But we don't need to pay a fictitious amount of money, a massive amount of money on fictitious numbers that are just keystroke entries. Now, that's not excluding the massive waste of war.
Do you remember
Don't
Ray
get me
Fair?
started on that.
Do you remember Ray
Well,
Fair? He said that the Canadian government, what they're doing, are taking the shingles off the roof to put in the fireplace to warm the country up. That says it in a
Says it
nutshell.
all. Yeah.
It's too much. Only the privileged can get educated. And then when they give you the opportunity to go to school, then they charge you a fortune for the books.
And then you think about things like the air we breathe and all these diseases that are happening to people, and people are going, well, we can cure them and everything. The problem is we're poisoning ourselves through our environment.
You ever notice chemtrails in the sky?
No.
You ever notice long,
Oh,
straight
yeah.
streaks that usually follow an airplane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever wonder what they are?
No, I was pretty satisfied as a little kid to think that they were producing clouds.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there to say it's not clouds.
Yeah.
They're forming clouds, but there's a lot of heavy toxins in these things. Planes go around and they're putting all these dispersants over heavily populated areas
Yeah.
to keep our level of health
Oh,
just down enough, not to kill us. But you think of all the chronic diseases and illnesses that have come out over the last, in history is short, right? The last 50, 100 years.
And they're saying pharmaceuticals are going to be like the biggest industry in the world come 2020.
It is
It
already.
pretty much
it's
is, yeah.
recession proof, and like everyone's going to have some kind of mental disorder that's going to be diagnosable. Like everyone.
It's a life-enhancing miracle, but there are some things you should know.
It may cause agitation, palpitations, excessive salivation, constipation, male lactation, rust-colored urination, hallucinations, bad vibrations, mild electric shock sensations.
But it's worth it for the drugs I need.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But that, to me, I see that as being purposely perpetrated on the people, right? There's so many natural health choices out there.
Oh, yeah.
That, you know, none of the pharmaceuticals even need to be on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these things aren't even tested for any great length of time before they're put on the shelves.
Yeah.
And further, or some of those products that were found bad, Bayer, for example, dumped a whole whack of product into a third world country tainted with HIV.
You're telling me that Bayer knew that this drug was infected with the AIDS virus, and then they dumped it in markets overseas?
They had to figure out a way, Joe, to make a profit on a product that they could not sell in America. So they made a huge profit. They dropped the product in Japan, Spain, and France. By the way, Joe, government officials in France that allowed that to happen actually had to go to prison for it. In America, not one corporate executive for this company has been indicted or even criminally investigated. It wasn't a possibility. They knew it was contaminated. Americans were dying from the product before it was pulled off the market. Finally, the government said, you can't sell it here, but then the government allowed them to dump it in Spain, France, and Japan.
Quote, ask that the issue be quietly solved without alerting the Congress, the medical community, and the public. This is a cover-up, and our Congress is not doing anything.
But it's worth it for the drugs I need.
Oh, wow.
The Vatican, for example, one of the enormously richest entities on the planet, yet millions of its parishioners go on every day starving, living in third world or worse conditions.
There's so many issues.
Are you aware that you have a natural person as well as an artificial person?
No.
Like if you check all your personal ID, all capital letters, that's the artificial person. That's what the government creates as you and attaches to you as that entity. But there's the natural person. person that was created. Okay, you weren't created into a set of rules and regulations and arbitrary decisions imposed upon you. These were things that were made by people. Mm-hmm.
Natural person is a human being that has the capacity for rights and duties. Artificial person, a legal entity, not a human being. Recognized as a person in law to whom legal rights and duties may attach.
Speak English, Doc. We ain't scientists.
Natural persons are such as God of nature formed us. Artificial are such as created and devised by human laws for the purpose of society and government, which are called corporations or body politic.
And that second you that they control, that they created, is all capital letters.
Reach into your purse, check your wallet, check all these things that you applied for. He has a Visa card, he probably has a driver's license, okay? He probably has a bank account.
It's very much an enlightening experience. For me, it's a spiritual path. It's understanding who we really are. No longer in the mirror, in the fictional world, we're over here in the reality now.
Who really are you within this country, within this legal system?
People say to me, society's broken. But what I'm going to tell you today is it's not broken. It works exactly the way it was planned to work.
The entire thing is based on the manipulation and exploitation of the ignorance of the people.
So when we look at the word statute, I know I like this one, a legislative rule of society given the force of law by the consent of the governed. And I ask you, please, if you could explain to me where in that definition taken from Black's Law Dictionary that says that statute is law.
Nobody in the Western world is operating under any law anymore, other than the golden rule, and that is that we're not to infringe upon anybody's person rights or property. In other words, we, do unto others. How we want to be treated, we want to treat others. So that's the only real law that there is. And everything else that we think of as laws are not laws. They're statutes, codes, rules, regulations, ordinances, bylaws, constitutions, legislations. What did I leave out? They have nothing to do with us. They are simply the policies of the corporations which appear to be government.
It will apply to you if you consent. What does the word consent mean? Exactly. So what happens when you don't agree? It isn't law. It's not real. It's imaginary. Okay? Completely imaginary. Because politics is not what you think it is.
They are the ones who are referred to in the old European system as the authorities. They are the authors. They author, they write down and author the law, so they are the authors or the authorities.
We all have this concept of who they are, whether they're an invisible government, a secret government here, or higher echelons of our own government, or a world banking scenario or something like that. When you understand all this, that is absolutely immaterial.
Ben, who are these authorities who have written the law?
Say, oh, well, they said this. I mean, ask yourself, why do you pay income tax? Why? How many people here have read the Income Tax Act? Well, why are you paying income tax?
Because they told us to.
Yeah, that's how we're programmed. They said. Who are they? Oh, I don't know. They just said do it.
I mean, you just have a feel for it, and you say, okay, I got it. There's something wrong here. Something's going on that shouldn't be going on.
You understand now the thing? The created cannot be greater than its creator.
It's very much an enlightening experience. For me, it's a spiritual path.
See, you're born with it. There's no negotiation for these rights. You're entitled to them. Okay, the Supreme Court, they understand who you are.
I suggest that you start looking into, there's a number of videos that you can watch on the internet that will give you a good introduction to how the money system works and what gives it its value. And then you'll probably be left pondering the ultimate question of, well, where does the government get a bond from? And that's where it ties in with you. But the only thing that has value on this planet is whatever is created, like the rest of the universe. Because the only thing that has any value in this world is when us and this connect with the land. And we make something, we either put a seed in the ground and make something grow, we dig out the metals and smelt it into a car. So that's where all of the value comes from.
No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all of their forms. There are many forms of slavery. Chains and whip is a very blatant form, but economic slavery, it's still another form. Okay? When we get through this whole thing, you realize they know these laws exist and they won't violate them. That is why they had to create this illusion. Education shall be directed full development of the human personality and to strengthen the respect of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Did you guys learn this in school?
The two principal things that govern us in our lives are the two things they never teach about at school, which is money and law.
Because their system only maintains itself and functions itself as long as we remain ignorant. Without the knowledge, they carry on doing what they do.
And so you start investigating and you start talking to people. And
one of the things we're doing up in Burnley is we're setting up a community trust at the moment, and we want to start doing education workshops because we've learned that much that quick that we need to disseminate this information so that you can go away and you can either go and do that study yourself or think, oh God, that's what I've been looking for. Yeah.
The cause of every single problem on this planet, and I mean every single problem that is on this planet, is caused from the infliction of commerce by the banks onto the people.
You'd be amazed at what you have in capacity. It's real simple. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Period.
People either didn't know about what the research I had done or didn't want to know about it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
It's called the ostrich effect.
Head in the sand.
Head in the sand.
What do you think we can do as individuals to help sort of eliminate a lot of these problems? What can we do or what aren't we doing to make that happen? What do you think we could do as individuals, yourself or myself or anyone on the street today?
I don't know. It's a tough one. 'Cause there's so many dynamics. I mean, really.
Sometimes people can't get their head around it. Like, there's so much. It's so overwhelming.
That's a very tough question.
Pay attention. Get information from all sources.
Well, I think we need to be more responsible for our actions, for how we treat others, how we would like to be treated.
More compassion, probably.
Oh, you're getting into the empathy, sentimental side. Jeez.
In a large way.
Oh.
Yeah, look for the goodness.
Cool. Thank you.
We need to form more communities.
I think that a lot of us have some sort of need to go beyond just shopping and laundry and working 9 to 5 or whatever we work, even if we are happy. I think a lot of us need to feel like we're, especially here, because of all that we have. I think we feel we have to touch something.
Yeah.
And not turn a blind eye to what's happening in countries that where people are being taken advantage of, basically.
And if we also take into consideration things like animals and the environment and how these things are all connected, that if you start treating one thing better, you're going to have to even that out.
Has a domino effect.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's less things that you care to have. Like, you stop wanting so many material things. You just don't find the need for them.
Why does a young married couple need a 7,500 square foot home? And
and a boat and 2 cars. And
yeah.
Space we use. Why do we use so much space? Why are our houses so big? Why do, you know?
Yeah, people sort of insulate themselves with goods and material things and thinking that that'll keep them safe.
Yeah.
And it's not really how people grow. It's through opening up and through sharing. And
we need to go back to the values in what's important in life. It's not what you own, it's who you surround yourself with and your family. And
I think nowadays family tend to be like separate each other, like grandmother and the family is separate.
Right.
And so like they need to like be together.
it's not all about what we have, it's who we have. I think in the long run this will be good for the world.
Educating the children, really that's the only way. I mean, there's so much going on.
We need to educate the new generation to don't be selfish and
learn to be less selfish. And I think right from the start, like right from when we're little kids.
it's for a better world for us and for the new generation.
Awesome.
Education is the key.
Maybe.
And it's up to parents and the society, the older generations, to push past this selfishness and teach younger generations how important it is, and then the domino effect can happen, you know?
Right.
believing in the positive, like the ripple effect, and seeing it actually happen. But you have to invest something, and you got to take a chance, and you got to let go of what you're comfortable with.
And it may not seem like it has an impact, you know, million or thousands of miles across the world, but eventually my contact to you, your contact to somebody else, somebody thinking about this, somebody thinking about that, I feel will spawn a change.
We're all connected. I agree.
I think making small choices along the way by accepting that we all have power, I think. I think that's important. By thinking that we can't do anything, it keeps us frozen. So whether it's a smile to someone and showing some kindness as another human being, I think is important. Sharing your food is really important. Sharing your shelter if you can is important. I think by believing that the power is in each of us as opposed to accepting or thinking that it's them, capital T, they, I think is important. You all got to do little stuff before it turns into big stuff. You got to believe that we all matter. That's about it. Not everybody, covers themselves with greed, but a lot of people do, and I think it's about fear.
Right.
Yeah.
And you look at media and a lot of the propaganda that goes out, we're a very fear-based society. There's a lot of fear propagated throughout the media, and not just that angle, but many angles.
How diplomats were afraid Pakistan's nuclear material would fall into the hands of terrorists. Said Canada had an Alice in Wonderland worldview of terror.
A woman who stabbed another woman nearly 24 times or shot himself last night. Several
may have been bludgeoned to death by the very same hatchet-wielding man. Hamid Karzai pardoned prisoners, including drug dealers and former Guantanamo inmates.
threaten, obviously, national security. They're cutting things like basic health and disability.
Mental illness and violent crime
Under their own economic storm. Public safety issue. H1N1.
cyber attacks.
The list goes on and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on. Waving a gun, just an imminent murder, and attacked her with a knife. Cocaine from a murder has occurred.
Unconscious, bleeding from his head, and barely alive. In a threatening manner.
Hostage shot himself. The man who killed the killing
Could have been any one of us. Any one of us. Any one of us.
Everybody's getting burned this time.
Talk to your doctor. Depression hurts.
Now, if you look around in society, how we are conditioned, if you will, is fear. Think of all the things that you don't do because of fear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how they sell so much, is because they keep you afraid. I'm afraid I'm not going to date the right person. I'm going to obviously die alone if I don't have the right toothbrush, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very effective tool.
All of our senses, like I say, they're all externalized, right? You got sight, sound, touch, feel, all that comes externally to us, right?
Oh, yeah.
But internally is what drives us. It's our emotions, right? Now, if you break down emotions, human consciousness, if you will, we're driven by two primarily. There's love or there's fear. And if maybe that fear part, people stop thinking along that lines and just sort of disregarding some of the fear tactics that go on there and start making their decisions every day with love, like through love. Am I doing it because I'm afraid of something, or if I'm doing it because I love something? I'm doing this film because I love my daughters, and I want them to have a decent place to live. But at the pace we're going, we can all see that there's a natural state of destructiveness that's going on.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to have another Gulf of Mexico happening, I don't think, right?
Maybe the BP spill?
Yeah, exactly.
After this, a slow-motion environmental disaster as an oil spill of hundreds of square miles makes its way towards the US shoreline in the Gulf of Mexico. While nearly a mile beneath the surface, remote-operated submersibles try to find an emergency valve, which will close off the underwater well. This all started after a catastrophic explosion on a drilling platform on April the 20th, a blast which killed 11 workers. The unplugged well is currently leaking 42,000 gallons of oil a day.
Is that a tragedy?
That was sick. Things don't have to stay as bad as they are. So we can change. I mean, we've seen improvements, we've seen atrocities, but we still have choices every single day when we get up.
I guess you have to find a way to get a message across where people think they're going to benefit in the long run. You know what I mean?
What about better uses of energy?
Oh,
like eliminate the fossil fuels. You think that's even possible in today's society?
No.
No? Why?
It just seems like a huge leap.
Do you know that cars can run on water? You ever researched any of that?
Well, basically, I guess we're going to have to give you a little teaser here until we get our good video started. Our driver just got back from a 3,000-mile road trip.
All right, the fuel has been completely shut off. There is no fuel in this at all. Pumping the gas.
Well, gee, Dave.
I think it's out of fuel.
I don't think there was any in there to begin with. Okay, now Dave is going to go ahead and fire up our control
Let's put
panel.
the camera on the vessel.
I'm going to put the camera on the vessel.
And the vessel is on and producing hydrogen gas as we speak.
Drawing about 50 amps. And our pressure is starting to rise. Valve so we can purge our H2O system. Oh my!
Well, it started right up.
Hey. Basically, you see the battery isolator that separates the deep cell battery from the vehicle battery. We're going to let now that our alternator is running, our pressure is going to build up. Yes, our fuel is completely off. We're running on just totally hydrogen. I'm going to go ahead and button the hatch here. Like I say, this is shareware. We're doing this for nothing, just for the planet, for our grandchildren, and so our children can stop dying for stupid oil. What do you say? We got enough.
We got enough to go.
Let's go take it. Right. No gas in the gas tank. Now this probably would be an issue, mind you.
Except that we don't need gasoline in this vehicle anymore. Now, if you're listening, if you can hear it, it sounds a little different than it does with the gasoline, and that's probably because our timing's not perfect, but our ability to move the vehicle without any gasoline is what we're talking about. Our ability to produce enough HHO to power a full-size vehicle, your generator, your coal-fired power plant, whatever it is the application is going to be drawn for.
I actually didn't know that. I know about grain, but not water.
Yeah. They take the through electrolysis, and I'll start with no big oil company or anyone like that is gonna try it or endorse it. But if you go on the internet, you'll find tons of backyarders that are doing this. And I just saw a video last night of a guy who was running his 96 Dodge pickup truck 100% on water through something he made, which was based on an invention that was put out, I'm going to say in the 70s. There's a guy, Stan Myers.
In the top, our news here at 6 o'clock, an age-old dream becoming a reality. A local inventor has discovered a way, hear this, to use water to run your car.
It's a major breakthrough that will no doubt make motorists happy. And as Ralph Robinson explains, the Pentagon is also showing lots of interest in this project.
Water has always been considered a precious commodity, but Stan Myers' invention may make it even more valuable. He has developed what's called a water fuel cell. It has taken the place of his old gas tank. The water fuel cell breaks down water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen is used to run his dune buggy.
I don't care if you use rainwater, well water, city water, ocean water. If you don't have any fresh water, go ahead and use snow. If you don't have any snow available to you, use salt water because there's no adverse effect to the fuel cell.
Yes, I know my enemies. They're the teachers who taught me to fight me. Compromise, conformity, assimilation, submission, ignorance, hypocrisy, brutality, the elite, all of which are American dreams. 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 All of which are American
Before the
dreams.
fuel system goes into mass production, the day it happens will be one the fuel industry hates, but it'll put a smile on the face of those who've had to say at one time or another, fill her up.
It was on the news.
But
Does that ring a
also,
bell?
isn't there something that's running, like diesel trucks running them off of vegetable oil?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
I mean, you can.
that's one possibility. But then you're
Yeah.
taking away agricultural land to drive our cars.
Right.
That to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it's better than oil.
Yeah.
So the people that are not taken advantage of, I think we need to start questioning them.
Yeah. Thank you. One last question. Are you awake? Are you awake? Are you awake?
Am I awake?
Did you consider yourself awake? Are you awake?
Am I awake?
Awake?
Awake.
Am I awake?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah.
I'm trying to be. Why?
Well, I'm, let me see, vertical right now.
Pardon me?
I'm vertical. It's a good day.
Yeah. Let me preface that. I felt I was asleep for a long time. I never gave one thought to politics, to world poverty, to all the issues that are going on. Doing whatever I was doing, enjoying life, not even paying attention to some of the travesties that are actually going on. Hearing about them, in the back of my ear, and relying on the mainstream media to give me information. But I soon realized that a lot of that information was not accurate, not real. For me, it was 9/11 that changed my thought process. We're not being told of the real state of what's going on and how people are being oppressed on a daily basis, basically on our free will choices. Something triggered, and I realized that something isn't right.
Yeah.
In a vast way. We living here are very fortunate, but there are a lot of people that are very way down the scale.
Awake? I think I'm becoming awake. Yeah.
Me too.
So awake, when you say awake,
yes.
I have to say yes, we are.
Am I awake?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for me, that started a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still getting there. Like, I'm just sort of on the path, but at least I feel like I'm switched on in the right direction. So that's very cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
My name is Michelle.
Michelle, I'm Dan.
Dan, nice to meet you.
Nice to
Good
meet you
luck
too.
today. Bye.
Take care.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Don't try to frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader. Your sad devotion to that ancient religion.
find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. We about to set this one right. We about to do this for all
I can't breathe in this thing.
All the kids, the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the sisters. You know, the regular.
Make a decision and follow it through. Don't sit back.
What is meant to be will be.
Understand that everything is everything.
After winter.
After winter.
Yeah. Start small and work big, but start working bigger faster.
Yeah.
I wrote these words for everyone who struggles in their youth, who won't accept deception instead of what is true.
Gotta know the truth, y'all.
It seems we lose the game before we even start to play.
Not our game.
Who made these rules? We're so confused. Easily led astray. Let me tell you that everything is everything. Everything is everything. Everything is everything.
A tidal wave of anti-government protests is gathering pace as it spreads across North Africa and the Middle East. Libya joined the Club of Unrest on Wednesday, and demonstrators are promising more to come.
Now there is a call that has gone out for massive demonstrations to take place in Libya tomorrow.
And our resolve is clear. The people of Libya must be protected.
Specifically, Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a true sharing of the wealth.
You'd think we'd be in Iraq if the major export there was broccoli.
The protesters have come back in greater numbers with greater conviction and growing influence.
As the tsunami continues to sweep across the Middle East, the US and Israel as well increasingly alarmed.
Where hip-hop meets scripture, develop a negative into a positive picture. Everything is everything. What is meant to be will be.
People have taken their anger to the streets, saying their governments have been taken over by big business.
Protesters have called for a general strike on Monday, and what they bill as a protest of millions march on Tuesday.
Corruption of that system, it is up to the individuals to protect their own rights and those of their neighbors. That the democratic government derives its just power from the people.
If the demonstrators' demands are met, it could spell the end for the military establishment.
That the people will, in the end, make them regret their devious ways.
Let's love ourselves and we can't fail to make a better situation.
Tony Blair, all of these puppets, corrupt and not representing their people and giving trillions of euros away to the bankers while people are losing their resources, losing their jobs, losing their homes.
The question is whether or not we're going to ask some fundamental questions about the way our monetary system operates. We're seeing we have a debt-based monetary system, and what that has meant is that all we're doing is creating more debt. The banks are spending money out of thin air.
Iran is not the threat. Israel is the threat. American imperialism is the threat. British complicity and support for those institutions is the threat.